Like there was one, it was outside the brothel, and I guess it's tongue-in-cheek, but it was like Virgin's welcome here. The way I explain to people is, the reason why I was so fascinated by the indigenous culture is we don't have any connection to that in the UK or in Europe whatsoever. And now all the different bars across Alaska all have their own. There's like a duck fart, a moose fart, this, that, and the other fart, basically. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of Magically Cruising, the cruise and travel podcast where we share our personal cruise tips and reviews to help you make the most out of your next holiday. My name's Kieran. I'm an independent travel agent specializing in all things cruise, Disney, North America, and I'm joined by my fellow co-host.
Hi, I'm Sarah, and I write cruise and travel over at Mini Travellers and Craft and Cruise Magnets, which I want to talk about today.
Yes.
Over on Extraordinary Chaos.
And today, Sarah, we are going to be talking about probably something that's become one of my favorite regions in the world. I absolutely adore sailing Alaska. We have done an episode in the past about Alaska. The last time I cruised it, I did it with Holland America Line, who are often regarded as the go-to de facto cruise line to sail Alaska. But this year, I was very lucky. We were the first people to sail Alaska with Virgin Voyages, which is a shock to nobody that I've sailed Virgin Voyages this year. But I did manage to get to Alaska with Virgin Voyages, and I had an absolutely wonderful time. So what we thought we'd do today is kind of do a bit of an update on how that works and what Virgin Voyages are doing to make Alaska a bit different.
I suppose because I've never been to Alaska, I've never been on Virgin Voyage, so I have got all the questions. But my first one is that this is new, isn't it? This isn't something that they've been doing before.
Yeah. And if to be honest, I was fighting with people in Facebook groups saying like, Virgin will never do Alaska. They'll never do it because they're not built for Alaska. Like they don't have any solariums. They don't have indoor viewing areas. Like they'll never do Alaska. And then literally, I think 2 months after that, they were like, hi, so we're going to Alaska next year. And I was adamant I wasn't going to book. I was like, no, they're the wrong cruise line. If I go back, it's going to be with Disney. And I think within 2 days, I put a deposit down and we were booked on the unofficial. It wasn't the Mermaidum. It was technically the repositioning sailing before the Alaska season, right. But it was the first time the ship sailed in Alaska.
And just as a spoiler, yes or no?
To which now? To yes or no to which? Did I
yes
enjoy
or
it?
No
or...
to like, would you do it again? Did you love it?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Alaska has become my favorite cruise region. I think I've got the Alaska cruise bug. I love the region. I love the scenery, the wildlife, the culture, the food. Everything about Alaska is a yes from me. And it's a shame it's so far from us here in the UK to get to. Otherwise, I think I would try and do it at least once a year.
How long is the flight?
It's about 12 hours, depends on which port, but generally you're on kind of the opposite coast from Miami of America. So you're either going to do Vancouver or Seattle. So it's about a 12-hour plus flight. So it's a big commitment. It's a big cost. It's not the easiest one to get to type of thing. You can't really do it on a bit of a whim. It's a real considered purchase. The other side of it as well is to kind of make the most out of Alaska. It's one of those regions where excursions are king. So you're also spending a lot of money on excursions for every port you go into as well to really make the most out of it. That's not to say there aren't ports you can enjoy just casually walking around, but even then, because it's so remote and it's such a seasonal business, a lot of the ports are quite expensive to do things in as well, just because they only run from May through to about September time. So they're trying to obviously maximize as much revenue in those 6 months or so.
So I suppose the first question, because I'm not on Virgin ships, which ship was it and where did it stop?
So yeah, we were sailing on Brilliant Lady. So she is the newest ship in the Virgin Voyages fleet. She's been tweaked ever so slightly to do the Alaska and the Panama Canal season. So now I have officially sailed all 4 lady ships. It was the last one we had to do. And yeah, we were sailing the reposition, as I say. So what they've done is just down to the way they season work, they do kind of an LA season for about a month. And then they go up to Vancouver to start the Alaska season. They've done a repositioning from Vancouver for 10 nights. We did down to Seattle, where Seattle is going to be Brilliant Lady's home port then for the Alaska season. So she does pretty much 7 nights with 1 or 2 10, 11 night sailings from Seattle up to Alaska. And then at the end of the season, she does 1 repositioning again from Seattle to Vancouver. And then weirdly, this year, we're also booked on the last Vancouver sailing of the season. We're going back again in September to do Vancouver down to Los Angeles at the end of the season this year.
Right, I can see. So it's a really exciting itinerary, isn't it? I mean, it's not, as you know, it's not on my bucket list to do it, but I did love following your trip. It just looked incredible.
I think you'd be pleasantly surprised. And I do get why some people wouldn't rush to Alaska, because if you're somebody whose relationship with cruise is warm weather, Mediterranean, Caribbean, it is the total opposite. I think if you're somebody who loves the idea of the Norwegian fjords, or you love scenery, wildlife, food, that's kind of a bigger part of why people go to Alaska than perhaps obviously enjoying the outdoor space and enjoying kind of sunbathing and relaxing.
And maybe that's why I'm like that, because I live in the middle of nowhere with lots of wildlife, but it's not that good weather. So
Yeah.
maybe for me it's like a busman's holiday. But I would like to see it, and I know Chris would absolutely love to do it. And I suppose that's what this podcast is about, to talk to people who are sitting on the fence, who don't know whether they'd like it. And I must say that I was just sorely tempted by your footage. It looked amazing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
first of all, what changes did they make to the ship to set the ship
Mm.
up for the season? Because you said they changed it.
Yeah, so there's nothing really drastically different. So the ship still looks the same. It's still got the same 6 eateries on board. There is a new eatery exclusive to this ship. But the main change is that they've made the way the lifeboats sit into the ship slightly different. So they tuck in a little bit higher so that she can transit through the Panama Canal, which obviously makes then the transition from East Coast, West Coast itineraries a lot easier for them because they can go through the Panama Canal. So the one unique thing is Brilliant Lady can do the Panama Canal transition, and it's always incredibly popular. She then does a brief season in Los Angeles and then obviously then spends summer in Alaska. That's kind of the main difference. When she launched, they did take her quickly into dry dock just before she officially launched because they delayed the ship for 12 months. And then what they've done is they reconfigured a lot of the public spaces basically to make her work better for Alaska. So it's just spaces like, and again, I know you're not been on board, so you can't kind of really visualize it, but like the central part of the ship, the roundabout, what they've done is they've changed the layout of some of the spaces to make the glass more visible so you can actually see out a lot better. They've put a lot more seating booths in. They've put a lot more soft furniture into the roundabout. So on other ships, it's kind of like a bit more stylish, a bit more of a space to walk through. On Brilliant Lady, and now they've added this change to Valiant Lady as well. So they've recently put her in dry dock. They're starting to add a bit more seating into the roundabout area. They've reduced some of the kind of tinting on the glasses on the upper deck areas. So a big space at the back of the ship. If you look where you are now on camera behind you, the very top of the ship is called the Athletic Club. There's a giant kind of almost 270 degrees wraparound seating area. They've changed the padding on that now. So in the past, it was all padded and it was lovely for sunbathing in the Caribbean and whatnot. But obviously, it was a nightmare to walk over. And when you're in Alaska, you want as much viewing platform space as possible. So what they've done now is they've reduced the number of soft padding and there's now standing platforms, but also the glass isn't tinted. So you can actually see out a lot better. There's a lot of subtle, small changes like that, basically. A lot of the kind of outer facing spaces have been either the glass has been tinted less, so it's not as badly tinted, and the furniture isn't as fixed in place, so they can move the furniture around. So obviously when she is in Alaska, they can move the furniture out of the way to make it so that people, or the sun lounging furniture, so people can stand on things to see out into Alaska better.
And did you find that it was easy to get a good view on that ship?
We were really lucky because we had access to Rich's rooftop, which is the suite area. So we didn't really have to fight too much for kind of getting a good viewing area. But I did purposely, during our cruising day in Hubbard Glacier, I did go out into the rest of the ship as well to just check. So I was obviously very conscious that we were lucky to have access to that on that sailing. But, you know, it is busier because obviously there's not as much, there's a lot more people trying to get to that kind of front of the barrier space to look out. But I went up onto the runway, which is the run-in deck. And I love the run. Actually, if you're looking on video where I am now, this is they call it the runway, but it's basically the run-in deck. And it's high, it's raised up above everything on deck 16. And not as many people were up there during the scenic days. And I love going up there anyway. Everywhere I am, we always, after a meal, we go for a couple of laps to walk off our meal. In the morning, I'll wake up and I'll go up there to kind of see sunrise. It's just stunning up there. But I went there, and a lot of my video footage that's done better on social media was all filmed from here up on the runway. So I think it's great. And then the Athletic Club at the back, again, has great views, and I filmed quite a lot of content from the back as well. So you can find spaces, just everyone was congregating around the main pool, which is a bit busier.
Right. Yeah, which I suppose if you just not use your sense, but think strategically, then
Yes.
there's better. And what about the inside space? Because that was, when we were on Iona, it was really well geared up for Norway. There was lots of space inside, where some ships, like if that had been certain Royal Caribbean ships, that would have been a nightmare. But Iona's really well geared up for colder cruises. So what was this like?
Well, we were lucky. It didn't rain. And I do wonder how it would have felt if it rained a lot, type of thing. But it wasn't that cold. We were at the start of the season. I don't think it was particularly cold. Virgin have fluffy blankets now on board the ship for the Alaska season. So in your cabin, you get given one each. And then when you're out and about the pool decks, there's also fluffy blankets as well. And generally, and I was going out in jumpers and a woolly hat, and I was just wrapping myself in a blanket, and I was fine. I did not feel cold at all. They haven't added space heaters. There's some myths online that they've added space heaters. They haven't. It's just literally aircon vents blowing out hot air. But some people are going like, there's now heaters outside. I'm like, no, it's just the aircon blowing out warm air. They haven't added any outdoor space heating, and there isn't a huge amount of space inside the ship to do scenic viewing from. That is the one complaint that I think everyone has about it. It didn't bother me because I don't think I would sit inside anyway to do scenic viewing. I quite like being outside and being connected to nature. Like there's no indoor pool, which some people moan about, but Virgin doesn't have a particularly big pool anyway. There's no solarium. There's no crow's nest, which some people think is essential for Alaska. I think it's subjective, is my honest take on it. I loved having it on Holland America, but I didn't miss not having that on Virgin Voyages. If you're in maybe, say, like the buffet, the galley area, that's all got floor-to-ceiling glass, and you can sit in there quite easily and look out and see kind of the scenery quite easily. From your cabin, you can see how beautifully we spent a lot of time on the balcony and in my hammock looking out. I didn't miss having an indoor viewing platform, room or space, but obviously mileage may vary depending on how you are as a person.
Right, yeah, I see. And yeah, everybody cruises differently, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Which is always a really big factor. So, so ports. Take me through some of the stuff you did and some of the activities and how it's different to obviously it's different to a Mediterranean. It's a stupid thing to say, but why for you this shines so much more than a lot of other cruises?
We were lucky. We did a lot more ports than Virgin typically do. And I can't remember the exact ports that are on every itinerary, but we did, I think it was 5 ports and 1 scenic sailing day. So we did Ketchikan, Juneau, which I know they always do. We did Sitka. We did Icy Strait Point, which they don't always do. It's only on the longer 10-night sailings they'll do Icy Strait Point. And Icy Strait Point became my favorite port, which I've never been to before. There's probably one I'm forgetting. Sitka, Juneau, Ketchikan, Icy Strait Point. Sure, there's more ports, but we did they're the headline ports anyway along Alaska. Definitely Juneau, Ketchikan, and Sitka. What's the other one? Skagway. That's the other one. Skagway, sorry. They're kind of the 4 headline ports that you want to go to because that's where a lot of the kind of headline excursions, whale watching, the White Pash train as well through the mountains is going to be, kind of bears, birds, Native Americans or to see the indigenous cultures. They're going to be across all of them. You can kind of do degrees of them no matter which one of those 4 ports you go to. Icy Strait Point's a bit unique. It's a bit like the Disneyland of Alaska is the best way I can explain it. It feels more like a theme park in Alaska, but I loved it for that reason.
And why? What? Explain that to me because
Yeah. I'm not paying much attention to it because not a lot of ships that I would frequent go to Icy Strait Point, but it's it's been built purposely for tourism, which is a bit of an odd way of doing Alaska because normally it's a case of these ports have become tourist attractions, whereas this was purposely built. And you kind of got a cable car that takes you across the 2 different islands. It's where I did the zip line. That zip line video is from Icy Strait Point. So I think the headline is definitely the zip line through the mountains, basically. I think it's the largest, they say, and I still haven't got to the bottom of what makes it the largest, whether it's the height or the length. But you do a cable car up to the mountains. You've got the stunning views overlooking kind of the peninsula. There's a woodland trail that was frozen when we went, but it has like a natural lake and a stream you can go through, and there's animals. You can see bears frequent there. We were at the start of the season, so bears are uncommon because they're still kind of hibernating or coming out of hibernation. Not a good thing to see a bear. You don't want to go close to a bear, but bears are quite common to wander around. There's wildlife everywhere. There's falcons and eagles flying overhead. There's seals. There's whales you can see from the shoreline if you're lucky. Wow. There's lots of food to do, smoked salmon, bars, shopping. We didn't see it, but you can do like ATVs. You can do the quad bikes and go on dirt trails. There's a nature bus you can go on. All sorts of stuff. Obviously, this all comes with an extortionate fee. Very expensive. Nothing's cheap to do. But there was just so many attractions and things to do. So it's kind of like a theme park, but for the wilderness of Alaska type of thing. So I think it's a great place to go to do kind of all the headline stuff. Our family who were with us, Phil's cousin, they did whale watching and they said they saw loads. Whereas when we did whale watching in where did we do Juneau? We saw very little. I saw a tail and that was about it. So
Right.
again, gamble, isn't it?
Did you book all of the tours through the cruise line?
Every single one of them this time round. So we spent, and I'm happy to talk about the figure because I want a preface of like the difference. We spent about £1,500 for the two of us over the 10 nights to do excursions with Virgin Voyages. They weren't much more than doing them locally. Like I did compare and contrast quite aggressively before we went to whether I should do Get Your Guide or whatever. There's a bit of a unique thing with Alaska because it is such a small season and because the cruise lines dominate the backbone of the industry. A lot of the local attractions work with the cruise lines quite aggressively to give the cruise lines exclusives or bonuses. So when I noticed, like when we went to Ketchikan, which again, Ketchikan's a stunning port. I love Ketchikan so much. But when we went to Ketchikan, I noticed when Disney are in port, one of the shows, they do like 4 or 5 lumberjack shows a day. So you get to see kind of like the lumberjack contest where they're cutting down trees and all that type of stuff. When Disney's in, there's a whole show every single day that's dedicated just to Disney. You can only book onto that show if you're on a Disney ship and you have to book it with a Disney cruise line. When Virgin's in, what's really cool is on board, they have now a new cast member called the Lumberjack, who is like doing kind of quizzes, activities in game shows on board the ship while you're sailing. But that Lumberjack is also from the Alaskan Lumberjack show in Ketchikan as well. So when you book it with Virgin Voyages, you sit in the Virgin Voyages section. So the Lumberjack who is on the ship with you is your champion that you're cheering for. So you've obviously met him already on the ship, but then you get a free drink included as well. You get kind of your own area. So you just get like little enhancements basically when you book with Virgin Voyages. The same for the zip line. The zip line was very difficult to book without Virgin. Other people worked out how. I tried, I struggled. But when we booked it with Virgin, we got given a GoPro video. My video's not the GoPro one. My one's filmed myself on my own camera, but you do get given a GoPro to film it with if you wanted to. And then you get a shot and a shot glass at the end of the zip line as well if you wanted to. So Virgin have negotiated that. So you get that as well as doing the zip line as well.
So did you do with your camera? Was you scared of dropping it?
No, because it's got a strap. So it was like, you can go on with your own camera at your own risk. They say to you blatantly, like, if you drop it, you drop it. You're not going to get it back because it's just wilderness for miles. But they did say, like, as long as it's tethered to you, you can take it on. So I have like a wrist strap on my Insta360 camera and I use that, which is where the video, I think the video looks really cool. Like I'm biased, it's my video.
Is amazing.
But it was pelting down with rain. It was so annoying because it was like raining heavily and obviously you're going quite fast. I think it's like 40, 50 miles per hour and you're just getting, you know when you do a roller coaster in the rain?
Your face
it's literally
it's like it's faceless.
I love that.
Put it on, we'll share it in this video because it is brilliant. It's just so funny. It really, and it's done really well, hasn't it? Because
it has 3.3 million views on Facebook.
The first time I watched it, I rewound you back up the hill a few times.
It was a lot of fun, and it was one that I knew was possible. And I looked at all the other things you could do, and I was like, that's something I probably wouldn't normally do, but I know it's one of the best zip lines in the world. So I was like, I think I'm going to have to do it because I don't know if I'm going to get back here. But I think this is what I loved about Alaska. There's such a variation. You've got kind of your thrilling attractions you can do, like the zip line. There's like helicopter rides over glaciers, but you can also connect with nature as well. There's so many like whale watching, seal watching, wildlife experiences. There's the indigenous culture as well, though. So you can go off and learn about totem poles, about the Tlingit tribes who kind of built the region ultimately. You get to learn about the history of the gold rush frontier as well and all the brothels throughout the whole region and how kind of like frontier gold rush mania took over the region. Then there's incredible food as well. So you've kind of got the Russian connection where obviously Alaska used to be part of Russia as well. So you've got all that heritage, but then obviously you've got kind of American food culture as well, but also Alaskan king crab and all the fish and seafood. There's just so much that no matter what you want to do, whether you want to just learn about history, culture, art, like Tlingit and Native American art is stunning and I love it. I bought so much art. I was like just literally shopping like nobody's business on all kind of like native art, indigenous local art by local artisans. It's just such a rich region. I absolutely adore it.
And I think that's what I love about that part of the world. I mean, like my house is older than America, which is bonkers. But I love their history and I love how passionate they are about history. And I am so excited for our next trip because I know we're going to learn so much. There's just so much to see. And I just love their passion for it. And, you know, like I say, it is old, but when you look at stuff in England, people have got older shoes. But everyone's a bit blasé about history here. And it's not as but they're just so good at it. They're so brilliant at showcasing, and I really love that.
The way I explain to people is the reason why I was so fascinated by the indigenous culture is we don't have any connection to that in the UK or in Europe whatsoever.
Yeah.
So we've got like no appreciation or understanding of it. You obviously see all the stuff you see in film and TV and stuff, but to actually experience it and to see kind of obviously the tragedy that happened of like when the gold rush era happened and they were all pushed out and they were, put into kind of almost prison and, beaten to kind of reduce their communities down to kind of tame them so they could claim the land for the American benefit. But to see kind of all of that, but to see it kind of being preserved now as well, to learn about the different tribes and how all that works. Virgin as well also have, and I can't remember the exact title, but they've got their happenings cast, basically, their entertainment cast who kind of do the foodie and all that type of stuff. Well, for Alaska, they've got 3 special members of the happenings cast as well for the Alaska season. One of them, we've talked about the lumberjack. One of them is the naturalist, and I need to be very careful about the naturist and the naturalist because I'm just getting this wrong. But the naturalist is on board as well, who teaches you more about the wildlife, the kind of climate and all that type of stuff, and knows the local ports, like where to shop and things like that. So they host chats and talks about that stuff. But they also had and I'm going to get the name wrong, but it's along the lines of the native and indigenous cultures voice representative. And that person is somebody who is a Native American who comes on board the ship then and teaches you about kind of Indian culture. And I'm not allowed to say that anymore, are you? But like teach you about native culture at the end of the day and indigenous culture, the tribes that go through the region. I did 2 classes with him. One of them was a wood carving class where he teaches you about the tools they use to do all the wood carving for the totems and the tools they make and things like that. And then the other one that I really enjoyed was the language of the line. So he teaches you about kind of indigenous Tlingit art and how they kind of draw all the totems and all the different patterns, the tattoo style and their embroidery and all that type of stuff. And that was fascinating to learn about like why the lines are there and what they represent and the different cultures and how it comes across in different tribes and what they represent and things like that. It's all very light. It's not like serious as if like we have to protect this and you're offending my culture. It's very much welcoming. Like, no, they want to share their culture, their history and their heritage. So I love the fact that you could do that on the ship as well as then go into port and learn and see it all in situ as well.
That's really responsible, isn't it? And showing a lot of respect for the place they're cruising into, which maybe not everybody does that, do they? And
no,
I suppose it's making it whole-rounded. What am I trying to say? Do you know what I mean? A whole-rounded experience that I really like that. That's brilliant.
It's the bit that blew me away with Virgin is that connection to the region. I think for year 1 especially, to come out so strong in year 1 with so many exclusive excursions that they've kind of curated or bought out or added things onto, but to also have those 3 cast members on board dedicated to those 3 different aspects of Alaskan culture on the ship with you the entire time. You could tell as well the ports were excited to have Virgin in as well. I think they were really excited about the way that Virgin has gone ahead of the season to try and connect with local businesses and kind of get things for Virgin Voyages. Like there was one, it was outside the brothel, and I guess it's tongue in cheek, but it was like Virgin's welcome here because they knew Virgin Voyages were in type of thing. So it was like a bit punny, but I think it was just, you could see when people saw our wristband, because obviously you wear your wristband on Virgin, people recognized us as being Virgin Voyages sailors. They kind of talk to us differently. Like they love the cruise lines coming into Alaska because it is the backbone of their tourism.
Yeah, and that's nice to be welcome because so many regions aren't as much anymore, are they?
No.
Do you know, it's funny because I saw something, it's one of my friends is travelling in Indonesia and she'd done something about this village, it's all been painted, and she was saying there's just this line of tourism where it can go too far. So because this village has been painted, everybody's going there. So to go somewhere and people still appreciate that and they've got that good balance, and Virgin are taking a lot of responsibility for respecting the culture, I just think is just an excellent way to do it.
Definitely. It definitely made me feel, and I think like we're very conscious about how we support the businesses we support. And it's one thing I've always appreciated about Virgin of no brand's perfect and no tourism is completely impact free type of thing. But I think Virgin do a lot in the right territory, if you get what I mean, to make sure that they're being as impactful. Like on board the ship as well, the retail areas, they have the high street on board. One whole section is dedicated to Alaskan goods. Now, I don't want to pretend any of these are all done by local artists, but they did bring on some of the art and some of the kind of glassware, cutlery, plateware clothing that we saw in the ports as well that were apparently, and again, I didn't do a lot of research, but they were apparently local businesses. So Virgin had bought some of that stuff to bring onto the ship to sell. Now, you can get it cheaper on land. Sorry, Virgin, but you can. But it was great that they had that as well. They were buying local produce to sell on the ship on board as well. It wasn't all just Diamonds International on board the ship everywhere.
Yeah, which is what takes the shine out of cruise ports when it's just all that stuff. You want the individual, and you want the low, and especially me, as my other job is as a craft blogger and I design my own files, to see that that's what I look for. I don't want mass produced.
Yeah,
I want
same.
individual craftsmen that have, the people that have just got all the mass produced took that they've got for 30p each. I'm not interested.
Yeah. And you will find both. Like, I'm in the middle of doing my Catch a Can vlog at the moment, and I kind of get a bit frustrated halfway through it, because when we first went, we were finding a lot of local artisans and a lot of local work. And when we went back, a lot of the stuff that we were finding is mass produced. You can tell it's all imported because it's the exact same pair of socks in every single port. And I was getting a bit like, it's not what I remember. If you just go, keep shopping and walking around through all the different shops, and every single port has an abundance of shops selling stuff, you can find stuff. So one of the things I was doing was stickers. Don't ask me why, and I've still not done anything with them. But every port, I bought a sticker from a local business. I was just going like small things that I was trying to do. So the coffee shop, I bought the coffee shop sticker as a way of remembering that I was in Ketchikan in Alaska. It was from the coffee shop rather than, Alaska from some white label sticker company that every single port was selling. The Christmas decorations, we were trying to find ones that were unique and made by people like local metalwork companies or places like that. You can still find them. There's loads of art, especially in Skagway. Skagway, if you're into art, is heaven. You will find the mass-produced tat, definitely. And I have no beef. I have a lovely pair of Alaska socks that were made in China. Like, they're so comfortable. I love them. They're really colorful and fun. But we also have lovely, like, handmade coasters as well that were made by a local artist in Alaska. We've got lots of Christmas ornaments. I bought loads. I just kept buying stuff everywhere because I just love all the little artwork, the little bits and pieces. There's some beautiful. Oh, my one piece as well, which I haven't got to show easily. But there's an artist based in Anchorage, which we didn't go to, as a different port basically. But she does. They're called like the regal mammals or something like that. But she paints like otters, cats, dogs, dressed up as monarchs. And it's really funny and cute. And then some of the ones that I took were the pop culture ones. So she's taken like the Van Gogh, what's the howl? Is it called the howl? The Van Gogh painting where he the Scream.
Yeah, but Scream, yeah.
With popular characters like Star Wars characters or characters from movies. The one I've got is the Kanagawa Wave, which is the famous Japanese piece of artwork, but it's got otters riding on the wave. And I was like, this is just this beautiful thing of my hobbies of like Japanese culture and Alaska merged together. So we paid for a hand-painted version of that, or at least a painted over print. You can find some stunning art and ancient pieces as well. Like, there's so many like indigenous stores that have metalwork going back centuries type of thing, and you can buy all that stuff. You could buy totem poles, all sorts. There's just so much to shop and see and do.
So what was it like price wise? Like if you stopped for a snack, a drink, a glass of wine, what was it like?
Expensive, but not as expensive as Seattle. Seattle blew me away at how expensive Seattle was. In Vancouver, it does depend on where you're going. Like in, say, Icy Strait Point, where you're a bit captive, things were a bit more expensive. But somewhere like Juneau, Skagway, because they're so big with tourist shops and competition, I think things are kind of a little bit, there's definitely a seasonal premium, like resort premium, but it's not like, oh my God, I can't believe how much I've spent type of money. It was just like, well, yeah, okay. I can't remember. I think it was like $7 for a coffee. I think we bought a sandwich in Skagway for about $15. So not cheap, but not, oh my God, I feel like I'm wasting a lot of money type of thing. Not enough that you didn't want to buy stuff. But there's always this competition. So you can always find a cheap, snack somewhere if you wanted to. Like popcorn was in one of the stores for like $3-4 a bag.
Yeah, because you've got to factor that in, haven't you, when you book your cruise. And we talk about this all the time. It's not the price of the cruise. It's all the extras, the drinks, the food.
Yeah.
Spending money in port, because you should spend money in port. Otherwise, what's the point of you stopping? And, it's like you've got to put some money into local tourism. So yeah, it all adds up, doesn't it? So what else did you do? So was there what we rather highlight?
Yeah, I think some of the ports we did like full buyout days. So when we did Juneau, because it was a tender port, and just the way Virgin do tendering is still giving me the hump. But Juneau was a full day basically. So we went out and we did whale watching tour, and then we did I forgot the Mendenhall Glacier. Sorry, so we went out to view a glacier afterwards, which was really cool. It's like a nature reserve that you can go and see kind of a bit of wildlife. I saw a porcupine climbing up a tree. That was really cool. That's a national park. So again, I bought the magnet, the sticker, and the mini and the pin badge for that. So we did that there. When we went to Skagway, some of them we did kind of like half-day excursions. So like Ketchikan, we had the morning to kind of free to ourselves, and then the lumberjack show was 2 hours. So we kind of wandered around. We saw the Salmon Trail. We got to go to Creek Street, which is kind of like a not turn of the century. I guess it is kind of thing. It's like a gold rush era town on the side of the street where the brothels are. So where the men used to kind of come in, and there's I think it's called like Widow's Walk, which apparently the storyline is they used to go into the brothels onto the bottom of Creek Street, and then when their wives were calling for them, they used to hide and run through the mountains basically to make it back into the town to avoid being caught by their wives in the brothels type of thing. So it's called, I think it's got like Maiden's Walk or Widow's Walk, something like that. There's lots of really fun like history about that. So Ketchikan's great for shopping and just wandering around to seeing the history. Skagway's the same. It's a frontier town that is a national park, so they've reserved a lot of the shop fronts. It's where the Red Onion Saloon is, which again is, I think, the oldest still established or still running brothel. It's not still running, but you know what I mean, still preserved brothel. So you can go through and do a tour up there where they show you kind of how the men used to sneak up the back entrance to kind of go into the brothels upstairs. You got to see the madam's rooms where they used to work and how small the beds were and the type of clothes and wallpaper they had and the history of the region. And then you can go downstairs and dine in the bar if you wanted to then, and explain kind of how that worked, of how the bar patrons would order the girls with the dolls lined up behind the bar type of thing. Just fascinating, because you think about it, the frontier, there was very little around, there was very little culture, and the community was based pretty much on gold and sex, pretty much sex workers. That was the business in the region.
What was that amazing series? Oh my God. And that was set all around that sort of thing.
Oh, was it the... Oh, it was on, I forgot the channel it was on. Wasn't it on one of the paid for channels, wasn't it? Over here, at least, anyway.
Yeah, I can't remember. And it was the American, there was an American doctor in it, weren't there? Do you remember?
I can't I know of the show, but I never watched it.
Yeah. And it was all set in a... Oh, it was amazing. I loved it. But yeah, I'd find all that really interesting. Really.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the big things I'm really looking forward to on our trip, which is not Alaska. It's hot. It's the desert. But it's going to a ghost town, and it's like an abandoned one of these frontier, but not on the, you know what I mean, don't you?
Yeah, no, definitely like a frontier town. Yeah, that's what, again, like Alaska's full of them. Like I think every port has some sort of tie back to frontier period of kind of the gold rush, the Klondike era. And again, it's just so fascinating to see it in person, because obviously our experience with that side of frontier culture is Disney. Ultimately, we go to Frontierland and we think that it looks all like that, and it's kind of cool to go see an actual authentic frontier town type of thing being preserved. It's like I say, it's just culture that we don't see very easily in this part from our part of the world where we are. We're very lucky to be close to the Med, but we don't have this like rich American connection to kind of, you know, frontier America and indigenous culture America, and I love all that for Alaska.
No, yeah, it's just our history is so different, isn't it? Equally as interesting, but completely different.
Because like then we did the White Pass train as well, which a lot of people say is a must do in Skagway. So that's the train. There are multiple ways you can do this. We took a bus up to the top of the mountain and then took about a 2-hour train journey basically from the top of the mountain down, and that is stunning. It is absolutely incredible.
Is that the one with the glass roof that you did before?
No, that was a different train. That's the Rocky Mountaineer. This is kind of a vintage carriage, ultimately. There is a steam train you can also do if you wanted to as well. We didn't choose that one. We did the standard train that goes through the mountains. But no, this is just like a day trip, basically. So one version, the one that most people do, is the train up and then it turns around and comes back down again type of thing. But don't ask me why we did, but we booked the bus, and that was what paired in with the brothel. So we went up on the bus, come down on the train, and they dropped us off then at the brothel, and then we had free time to explore Skagway then if we wanted to.
Right.
Where else did we go? Ice Strait Point, we obviously did the zip line. Juneau, we did whale watching. Ketchikan, we did the lumberjack show. There was one more port, and we did one more thing. It'll come to me. Sitka. Sitka, that was it. So
Oh, right.
Sitka is the old capital, from my understanding, back when Russia owned Alaska, I believe. Don't quote me as
Right.
fact. That's a fact I seem to remember, so it's probably mostly true. If it wasn't the capital, it was the main town, basically. But there we
Right.
did a haunted walking tour. Never been to Sitka before, and it's not one that commonly comes up. Normally, you have to do the longer itineraries to go to Sitka. I think just down to where it is in Alaska is a bit harder to get to. Thoroughly loved it. It was very wet that day, so we wandered into the town centre and had a bit of a wander around the shops. Again, there's a lot of tourist shops and food and things like that if you wanted to. We then did our haunted walk-in tour, which again, Virgin Voyages have bought out. So when Virgin's in port, you can only do this haunted tour with Virgin. Never done anything like that before. I don't think the haunted bit was as haunted as I expected, but what it was fascinating for was learning about the history of Sitka. I learned so much on it, basically, but it's like a bar crawl with history. So we got to go to the Moose Lodge. Have you ever heard about the
Right.
order, like the Moose Lodge
No.
order? It's an American thing, but apparently they're all over the country, and you can join and you become part of the Moose Lodge community. And it's like a members club, ultimately, a bit like the Masons, but
Like
without the kind of...
Masons. Right.
A little bit like that concept, yeah. But we went there and we learned about all the stories about how come, like, during the wartime, basically, it became a bit of a safe place for families to come together, to kind of, during the war. That was obviously affecting America and Russia at the time. But there was all these stories basically about like a couple who were seen dancing upstairs type of thing together, and he left to go to war and never came back, and she followed him, I think, and died. I can't remember the exact details now. I probably should check my notes. But there's all these ghost stories basically about how come you could find wet footsteps late at night kind of going up the stairs and all that type of stuff. So it was kind of like that type of thing. But we learned a lot about kind of the history and the war through like the Native Americans, but also the Russians and the Americans in that town. That was really cool. We got to go to some like really local fisherman's bar where you got to see, and it was really cool when you walk in because it's lined floor to ceiling with photos from fishermen over the last 90 years easily. And you've got really retro vintage photos of like fishermen's, their babies, their families, doing inappropriate things as like lads that, men who are at sea for hours on end type of thing, just posing naked with fish in places they shouldn't be. Like, it's a really fun local bar, basically. So that was kind of cool. But I think it was just great to see the local history and like the local culture that's developed around the region. And then we ended up then in one of the bars whose name I forgot, but it's a very local bar. And we learned about the moose fart, which is a shot you can do, and it's apparently really popular.
I've had the moose. I've had that, not the moose
or
fart.
Or a duck fart. I think there's a duck fart and a moose fart.
No, I've had the moose bourbon, and it's amazing.
It's a little shot, like a layered shot.
I didn't have the duck. I just had the moose, the actual bourbon.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay. So apparently this came from, so one of the guys who owns a local bar brought it over. He created this shot, basically. I think his is the duck fart, and it's peanut butter bourbon, I think, with Baileys layered as a shot, basically. And now all the different bars across Alaska all have their own. There's like a duck fart, a moose fart, this, that, and the other fart, basically. So we got to do I'm pretty sure in his we did the moose fart, even though he's famous for the duck fart. I can't remember. We just tried so many drinks. I was in various animal farts across Sitka type of thing, learning about history and ghosts. But again, it was just cool. Again, just this little community that's developed of something that was a bit fun, that one barman started, that's now become an Alaska tradition, basically, and they've all got their own spins on these different kind of animal fart little shot glasses. And again, I just love that. I love the fact there's a little bit of local culture.
And what about the menus on board? Like, did they reflect, was there stuff that reflected the local, or was it just standard what you'd expect to see on every Virgin cruise?
Yeah, they've definitely tried their best to kind of bring some of the local food and drink on as well, which I kind of appreciated. So of the 6 eateries on board, there is a new one exclusive to Brilliant Lady. So now all 4 Virgin Voyages ships have one eatery that is exclusive to that particular ship now. So on Brilliant Lady, it's Roho. It's still in Razzle Dazzle. So what they've done is they've called these things like something by Razzle Dazzle. So Scarlet Lady has Lucky Lotus by Razzle Dazzle, which is a Chinese eatery, which one then changed. So Resilient Lady still has the original concept. So she's still the original Razzle Dazzle now, the American Comfort Eatery. Valiant Lady just came out of dry dock, and they call hers, I want to say Aria. I'm probably getting this wrong, but Aria by Razzle Dazzle, which is an Indian eatery, which I'm so excited to try next month. And now brilliant lady launched with Rojo by Razzle Dazzle, which is a Spanish tapas eatery as well. Now, there's a lot of debate because they also have a Mexican kind of tapas. It's not tapas, but it's Mexican small plate eatery. And they have a Spanish eatery on the same ship, but the food is very, very different. Very different. So what they've done, to kind of jump off on that, out of the 6 eateries, 4 of them have new menus for Alaska. On the whole, 80-ish% of the menu is exactly the same as what they always have on all the ships type of thing. But what they've done is they've introduced brilliant lady specials, but also Alaska specials. So when you're looking for the menu, you look for a little bear icon. And if you see the little bear icon, it means it's exclusive to the Alaska region. So it'll just be things like a different cut of meat. So they would have brought on local meat rather than... And like the food itself, the way it's presented is different, but a lot of it is things like that. It's a different cut of meat or a different type of local produce, things like that. There's a lot of local wines brought on. So a really popular one with our group was the blueberry red wine they have on board. But they also do that in cocktails as well. So I really enjoyed, actually. It was quite nice and refreshing. It's a surprisingly light drink, but the blueberry sangria. So that cocktail appeared on different menus type of thing. So the 4, Rojo by Razzle Dazzle, Extra Virgin, the Italian, the Wake, the Steakhouse, Pink Agave, the Mexican, they've all got some sort of Alaska extras. Definitely by drinks, they've got some extra cocktails with spirits and wines. Some of them are a treat yourself, which is Virgin Voyages upcharge, basically. So like if you want the prime cut of the local steak in the Wake House, in the Wake, that's an extra charge. But there are also free items that aren't an extra charge as well.
Do you know what? I'd love that because I love tapas. So I'd love... And do you know, one of our friends, their neighbour's just been on a Virgin cruise and they cruise all the time and have cruised for years. And she said she couldn't rate it high enough and said they probably will do Virgin from now on.
The food alone is worth sailing Virgin Voyages. Like, after now trying more other cruise lines, I keep coming back to one of the reasons why I love Virgin so much is just how incredible their food program is. We're quite spoiled. We've been on Virgin a lot, so I'm a bit bored's the wrong word, but like I don't go, oh, I wonder what the food's like. I now know what the food's like. I've tried pretty much everything on every menu, so I don't get that kind of like. But I do absolutely adore all the food. And it was quite nice to go on Rojo and have something, a new eatery to try and to have new menu items. They also now introduce specials as well. So you won't find them on any menu. They'll just add in random specials. So it was really nice to kind of go like, oh, what's the special then? And I had so many specials on Brilliant. I don't think I've ever known Virgin to have as many specials. The other 2, so Gunbay, which is the Korean barbecue, and the Test Kitchen, those menus don't change. They're the same. There's no exclusives, no specials, nothing. But that's because the concept in itself is a bit special and a bit unique for those 2 eateries, but the other 4 definitely. And then like the galley has specials as well, which is so difficult to explain, but like there's just different specials in the evening, special burgers, extra desserts that are specials, things like that. The coffee shop also has special Alaska coffees as well. So you can get like a hot chocolate with rum or whiskey and things like that into it as well, with marshmallows and all this type of stuff. So there's a lot of extras in the coffee shop as well around the ship.
And I think the problem is as well, not everybody's like you and such a frequent cruiser. So for the most people, it's all going to be novel. If you're going to go once a year, then you're going to look forward to those things. But when you go a couple of times a year, then you've worked your way through the menu, haven't you? But then I suppose now, like when you've got the new venues, that just gives you a bit of something else.
That's why I'm excited to go back on Valiant Lady now next month. So we're going to do Valiant for the first time since her dry dock. She's got some redesigned spaces, but especially now having Aria on board as well. So it's going to be really cool to try a new concept, and she's getting incredible feedback and reviews. So I love the fact they're doing that. But the specials that's why they've introduced the specials for people like me who do sail frequently. There's now something new, and they're different by ship and by region. So in theory, there should always be something new to try, even if it's just one new menu item, which, like I say, they're aimed at people like me who go probably more than once a year.
Yeah, which... So is
I
there
think I'm doing 4 this year.
I know. You get bored of it. No, you don't, do you? You never get bored of travelling. Ever.
It's all different regions, though. That's the thing, isn't it? It's like, this is the joy of cruising, even though it's that familiar hug that you get with the cruise line you love. But we've done the Caribbean, we've done Alaska, we're doing the west coast of California, and we're doing the English Channel. You know, they're 4 totally different regions on 3 of the 4 ships in the fleet, which all have different entertainment, different, speciality some different restaurants and different specials on board. It feels familiar, but there's enough to keep you interested that you're on a slightly different version of Virgin.
And like I always preach, there is always something new to do, isn't there? And and something new to try. So I think I just feel I've got a bit of an itchy feet at the moment, but I don't know where that's come from, but there's so many things I want to do in the world. And but then that's the great thing about cruising is it can take you to all these places. You just got to venture out and try. And that's why I'm really looking forward to Canada and New England next year. We're on the other side, but cannot wait next year.
This is why I love cruising though. And like, as much as you may think you're getting bored, I was getting bored of sailing Virgin and the Med. And I say bored, just I wanted something new to look forward to. I wanted that excitement you get of like, this is new. I don't understand this. I want that excitement back. So to kind of have Alaska, that was one of it. It was like, I've never seen Virgin do Alaska. What's it going to be like? I don't know what to expect. But this is why we're sailing Asia with Royal Caribbean now as well, because it's new to me. I've never been to China. I've never been to Singapore. I've never been to Japan or Korea. So these are all new, exciting things, but I get to have that familiar hug of the cruise ship that I know. I know at least I'm going to have the food I like and the bed I like and the entertainment I like, but then I get to go off and see all these great places. This is why cruising can be a fantastic way to see the world. But you're right, sometimes you just need to get off land, get further in and see things and spend more time in land. That's something that you kind of don't get on cruises. I would never sell her as like a deep immersion into one place. You know, it's a nice snapshot of multiple places.
Having said that, I've said 2027 because we were like, right, we're not going to cruise, but then we probably will because we want to do Japan. And I have just wrote, if anybody wants to do Japan on their own, I've just wrote an amazing guide on mini travelers. I didn't do it, Karen did it. I put it all together. So that if you want to book and go on your own, everything's there. But do you know what? I was exhausted writing it. And I said to Chris, I am not doing
It's
that.
massive, isn't it? Yeah.
And she said it's the hardest thing she's ever done in her life. She loved it. But she loves those trips. And I said to Chris, if I do Japan, I'm doing it on a cruise. I'm just waiting, hoping that they get an Oasis class ship because I don't want to do it on Spectrum. I don't know why.
That's
I just
the thing.
don't.
Yeah.
I want to try. I mean, I don't know. I think it's because there's too many tea shops on it. I don't know. I don't know.
I get it. We're going back on Spectrum again in November, so I think we can probably touch
Spectrum,
base
though,
on.
Don't you?
I like Spectrum in Asia. I will say, like, it's not my favorite ship by far, but I do like Spectrum. I think it's just the novelty of being in Asia and the fact that she's a slightly Chinese ship. I think makes it feel a bit different. Speaking of Royal, so I do think I don't know if this is a fact, but I do think 2028 is likely to be Spectrum again, from what I've been hearing. The rumblings I'm getting from Royal Caribbean, but they are adding longer sailings with more sailings departing from Japan is what the whispers I'm getting. So they've started now for 2027. There's some lovely 10-night sailings going from Shanghai to Japan and Japan down to Hong Kong, I think it is, or maybe Singapore. I got a customer who's booked back to back. She's doing like 22 nights, basically doing those two itineraries together. But it's seeing more. It's stopping off more in Japan now for 27. I think 28 is going to be quite similar to that, of less of the shorter 4 or 5 night sailings and a lot more of the longer, kind of more.
Yeah, because that's why I don't want to do it. I don't want to do a 5-night sailing. I think you're going all that way. I want to do longer. But it's getting that right, because as from writing that guide, if you're an explorer, it's on Mini Travelers and it's a Japan, everything you need to know, hotel suggestions. But I just, as I finished editing, I thought I have no desire to do that. America, yes. Japan, I just think there's too much you need to know to do it. And I think having a cruise line hold your hand, I think is a big benefit.
Yeah. Totally. I think this is why I've fallen in love with Asia, cruising Asia by far. There's so much choice and the ships are getting better. I think there used to be periods where the ships were all the old ships. And I know Spectrum's, the Quantum class is a bit of a Marmite ship type of thing. We talked about this in the other episodes about Marmite ships, but I think it's an incredible way to do it. And it's a modern enough ship that I'm willing to do it. Like NCL have got a reasonably newish ship with it. Princess are not sending the greatest ships in their fleet over, but you have Princess. There's choice of brands, at least anyway. Celebrity is sending, I think, Millennium, I want to say. I should probably know this off the top of my head.
Millennium's done it for a few years, hasn't it?
Which again, she's had a refurbishment. So she is an older ship, but she's had a refurbishment type of thing. But they do tend to send older ships there. Rumor is Virgin want to do Asia, but it's just a supply and demand type of thing of where they're making their money at the end of the day is a bit of a risk. But I know, listening to Nathan, the marketing manager, they've got their sights on Asia. They definitely want to go back to Asia, but whether it's going to be with their current fleet or whether it's going to be when they expand the fleet, I don't know. But seeing how they've done Alaska and how the Med is with Virgin and how they're improving the brand, I would jump on Asia. And I shouldn't say this, if you're listening Royal Caribbean, I love you and you're my favourite in Asia at the moment. But I do have to say, if Virgin were to announce announce an Asia itinerary, I'd probably jump on it.
I wish I had an Oasis class ship in Alaska. Not Alaska.
Well, did you see the announcement
Asia.
that came out that the Discovery class? So the Discovery class, when I was on Legend, Michael Bailey was on board and he did a presentation, and they asked about the Discovery class, and he said it's being purposely built for Asia, Europe, and Alaska. So definitely, if it doesn't get an Oasis, it's bigger than Spectrum, smaller than Oasis.
Right. Okay.
So it is a big ship. It's not going to be. Everyone keeps saying that. Everyone's been saying for ages it's going to be about 2,000. It is not. It's going to be about the 4,000 or 5,000 territory. So it is going to be a big ship still, but it's going to be smaller than the Oasis class.
Right. Okay. Right. So that's promising.
But that's class is being built purposely. He's already announced being purposely built for Asia, Alaska, and Europe. So I think that's going to be so exciting for us.
Oh, it is. I just think Oasis of the seas has just ruined me for cruising. It's just like, I don't want to go on anything else, which is ridiculous.
It's tough, isn't it, though? When you find something you love and you enjoy.
Yeah.
And I think this is why I keep going back with Virgin. For me, it's the mid-size ship. I love a mid-size ship like Virgin. So I do like a bigger ship, but it's the number of people that come with that bigger ship that puts me off. Whereas I think Virgin and that guest per space ratio, I think Virgin nails perfectly for me. 2,750 people is the max on Virgin. She's a mid-sized ship, so you never feel, oh my God, this is too busy, I can't go, there's too many people around me. It always feels really spacious, really leisurely. Even at its busiest, when everyone's doing Scarlet Night around the pool, it never feels unpleasant. It feels just about the right size. There's a nice atmosphere. A lot of people are enjoying themselves. You never struggle to find a sun lounger. You never struggle to find a seat. There's obviously peaks where the galley can be a bit manic and a bit too much going on, but it's never so much that it's you can't find somewhere. You can always find a seat. You just may have to go sit out the back somewhere or something like that. So and Celebrity's similar guest to space ratio as well. Celebrity Edge series, I love that mid-sized ship that doesn't have a massive number of guests, and I'm willing to pay more for that experience.
But then we had a conversation before we came on air about Explorer Journeys, and that also appeals to me for the different reasons of it just looks a bit more luxurious, a bit more considered. So there's just so much, isn't there, that you want to do.
Yeah.
And then there's river cruising. So, I think I'd be tempted by Virgin, Alaska, most certainly, where probably others I wouldn't, because it sounds like they're doing things a bit differently, which sounds really interesting.
I think they're making Alaska fun. I think that's something, and Alaska's incredible, but I think a lot, and this sounds like I'm judging other cruise lines, I think some of the cruise lines just depend on Alaska to make Alaska great. But I think Virgin, and I'm biased, so this comes from a place of bias, but I think Virgin have gone in ground level and tried to make Alaska the Virgin Voyages way. And I know they keep saying that that's marketing speak, but they really have. They've really gone in and gone, how can we do Alaska but do it with the Virgin spin, the Virgin way? How can we bring Alaska onto the ship? And people challenged me. They were like, well, Holland America bring on the National Park agent when you get to Glacier Bay. I'm like, yeah, but that's the only time they do it. They don't have a lumberjack on the entire sailing. So the shows and the entertainment change them for it. So one example is You Don't Know Jack. So on our sailing, and it was the first one, so it wasn't probably as smooth or as fun as it could have been, but I've seen they've made changes to it as it's gone on. But they bring out the lumberjack and they do an interactive game show between the two different sides of the theatre. And they do kind of facts about lumberjacks. So if you go and see the Ketchikan show, a lot of the stuff's repeated, but you learn about why lumberjacks are important and why they're needed in Alaska. And then you do they get people from the audience to do silly games like who can chop the number of logs, and the logs are obviously foam logs, who can chop them down type of thing. And you throw in foam axes at a target to do axe throw in type of thing. It's very, camp and fun. But it's kind of they do that type of engagement where they have an entire interactive game around that, as well as the smaller, more intimate wood carving sessions and the art sessions and things like that as well. So a lot of the entertainment's been enhanced by Alaska as well. And I think that I've seen improvements they've made. And I think that stuff's just getting better and better as well as the season's gone on.
Yeah, which is just brilliant, isn't it?
Well, guys, I hope you've enjoyed that. It is a very much an overview of Alaska with Virgin Voyages. Just as an overview, their home port is Seattle. They've committed to 2027 already, so that you can book for 2027. Seattle is on average 7-night sailings round trips. There are a couple of 10, 11s. There's 2 or 3 of them a year. And then the beginning and the end of the season, you can kind of do a Vancouver to Seattle, Seattle to Vancouver, repo Alaska sailing, which is where I would go, because I think Alaska is such an incredible port. It's one I can't wait to talk about. Vancouver even, sorry. I love Vancouver and Seattle. There's a whole episode whole series we can do about Seattle. Wonderful city. But yeah, if you ever are interested in sailing Alaska, it's become one of my specialities. I'm so passionate about it now. But if you ever would like to sail Virgin Voyages or sail Alaska, I would definitely love to help you. You can find me online everywhere under magical-traveler.com or under magical-trvlr on social media as well. And then Sarah, I know you've got lots of cruise guide and ports guides. Where's the best place people can find you?
Yeah, so we've got lots of cruise and ports guides over on Mini Travelers. We haven't got any Alaska because that's one we've not done. But I just wanted to give a little mention to my cruise magnets. And I've only done so far Med. So just for the no Virgin cruises don't do it, but there'll be Royal Caribbean and NCL and Disney cruises that are here. So I've just got a few series over on the blog Extraordinary Chaos. One, I'm showing you how to make them yourself. If you've no interest in making them yourself, I've got a full set of Med cruise magnets and they are stunning. And all you need to do is buy a magnetic photo paper and print them out. And the set's £3. And I've got as many ports as I can think of and happy to have more. So yeah, check them out if you are a cruise magnet fan, but there's one for every port. Thinking when you tick it off the box, you put it on your door. I am going to work through and do all the other ports with Kieran's help because you're going to have to tell what I need to do. But yeah, check those out. And for travel, we're over on Mini Travelers.
Yeah, guys, definitely check them out. You've got loads of craft guides as well. If you are somebody who loves making door decorations or you like making kind of even announcement gifts, you do a lot of stuff like that. It would be great for kind of announcing that you're going on a cruise to the wider family as well. But also, what am I thinking of? You're like scrapbooking as well, memories and, you know, how to kind of make the most out of your time when you're happy. You've got tons of crafting stuff. So if you are like a crafty person, a cricketer especially, you've got tons of content.
Not cricketer as in back cricketer, crafter. Because I know nothing about cricket, so don't come for that. I know nothing.
Can you imagine? That's your secret side hobby. Like, no, I'm deeply passionate. I can tell you the entire history of cricket since the 1950s.
Yeah, they'll be coming over like, where's the cricket stuff? Sorry, wrong cricket. But yeah, if you're a journaler or crafter, I'm knee deep in my preparing journaling for California and showing different ways you can journal, and it doesn't have to be for that. It can be for anything.
Definitely, yeah, definitely. Well, so what website's that on, just so people can hear it directly?
So you can find it all on extraordinarychaos.com.
Other than that, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye.
Bye.